To the block, prisoner. Nice and easy.
And that's exactly what's gonna happen to you if you tell that joke about the king at the next banquet. Why are you so shocked? One does not simply mock the king and survive with their neck intact. The whole divine right of kings or whatnot kinda covers them from the mockery of the common rabble. Unless, of course, you were a jester. What's that look for? Don't tell me you're someone who thinks that a jester is just a fancy clown in a noisy hat. Really, I'll have you know that the role of a court jester was a lot more prestigious than people gave it credit for. They weren't just simple fools, nor mere entertainers. They were diplomats, advisors, sometimes the king's closest confidant, because they were the only fools brave enough to tell it like it is. You want to mock the king and live to tell the tale? Well, you have the don the hat and jingle those bells. And lucky for you, you have me. We'll have you flinging fistfuls of festive fancy before the night is done. Now, my dear, let's start with what a jester is. A jester, also known as joker, court jester or fool, was a member of the household of a nobleman or a monarch employed to entertain guests during royal court. These fearless fools said what everyone else was too afraid to. They mocked, teased, and even insulted, but always in a way that revealed some deeper truth or wisdom. That's why they thrived in the relative rigidity of the court. And they could do this because of a special status known as the jester privilege. Jester's privilege allowed jesters to mock and speak freely without punishment. To signify this protected status, they wore symbols like the cap and bells and carried a marotte, a prop stick or scepter with a carved head, mirroring the monarch's crown and scepter. In time, kings came to rely on them, not just for entertainment, but for a perspective that no one else dared to give. A jester could point out that the emperor had no clothes, literally or figuratively, and lived to tell the tale. They were a royal counselor, wrapped in comedy. But where exactly did jesters originate? Well, to answer that, we need to go back to the very beginnings of ancient history. The origin of jesters started as far back as ancient Egypt. During the 5th dynasty of Egypt, to be precise, pharaohs were captivated by the unfamiliar. They craved novelty, and that craving was satisfied by the Pygmies, a group from the region south of Egypt, known for their shorter stature and unique cultural traits. Fascinated, the pharaohs brought them to their courts and gave them a remarkable role in history. They became the first jesters. Tasked with dancing and entertaining, these individuals were presented to astonished guests at royal gatherings. This fad soon spread to the Western world, specifically to ancient Rome. Here they were known as ballatrones, or professional jesters who dined at wealthy tables. Unfortunately, these jesters were not living the high life, usually forced into their positions due to deformities. And they were kept in their role until they were no longer fun or they died. Thankfully, in medieval Europe, the jester was a little more respected. These fools shape the very image that pops into your head when you hear the word jester. The medieval jester was tasked with lifting spirits at feasts, poking fun at royalty, and even delivering unpleasant news in a way that stung a little less. Jesters sometimes even served as tools of psychological warfare, riding ahead of their troops to mock or provoke the enemy. They also acted as messengers and boosted morale within their own ranks by performing songs and telling stories. With the foolery came fame, and as it goes with any job, As soon as people realize how important you are, they start piling on more responsibilities. Jesters became full-on advisors and confidants. As history marched on, the fame of certain jesters grew larger than life. Courts around the world were all about snagging the wittiest jesters. In England, Will Sommers was the guy who kept King Henry VIII laughing. A miracle considering Henry's infamous mood swings. Meanwhile, over in France, Triboulet was cracking up King François I with humour so savage it almost got him killed. The guy once insulted a court lady so badly the king sentenced him to death. Triboulet, never missing a beat, asked to die of old age. The king laughed so hard he let him off the hook. In Poland, while serving King Sigismund, Stancik didn't shy away from calling it like he saw it. When the king ignored criticism, Stancik sighed and declared, "The real fool here is anyone ruling without listening." That bravery earned him a reputation as the people's champion. And in China, jesters took their craft to heroic heights, like Yu Sei, who managed to save thousands of invaluable books from Emperor Qin Shi Huang's wrath, or with the clever delivery of a well-timed joke. And the role of the jester wasn't just a boys-only club. There were female fools who ribbed with the best of them. One early example is Harpaste, who entertained Seneca's wife in ancient Rome. In medieval France, Queen Jeanne had Artaud de Puy, and by Catherine de Médicis' reign, female jesters were household staples. Jane Fool, for instance, one of the rare documented female jesters in Tudor England, thrived in the courts of Henry VIII, Queen Mary, and Queen Elizabeth I, and was known for her sharp humour and quick wit. Finally, there was Mathurine de Valois, the most famous female fool, a devout Catholic who took on Protestant critics, her renown even beating out treason charges under Henry IV. You might think such a lofty position comes with an extensive hiring process, right? Wrong. Jesters came from everywhere. You might have an ex-monk who got caught sneaking off with the nuns, a university dropout with a smart mouth, or even some random blacksmith's apprentice who just happened to make a noble laugh once. And the best part, you didn't just have to be funny. If you could play music, write poetry, or juggle, you were in. So what are you still here for? The jester life awaits you now. There's nothing to fear for a fool. Now grab your lute, sharpen your tongue, and start practicing your pratfalls, 'cause there's a king out there that needs some humbling, and I know just the joke to open the act. Maybe let's try the English court this time, yeah?